The illusion of power is one of the most important aspects of a game. Whether I feel excited by dominating an opponent in a round of Brawlhalla, or by completing a difficult level in Picross, each game is designed to create a feedback loop where I feel in control, capable, and powerful. However, regardless of the game mechanics, I rarely feel motivated to play games that fail to create a rewarding and effective feedback loop. Hello, my name is Joe, this is Zeal, and welcome to Gaming Keystones, where I discuss overarching topics in gaming and how some games leverage them to stand out from the rest. Today, we will be discussing power. While nearly every game contributes to an overarching sense of power in one way or another, I selected 6 categories that I think are the most important to consider in evaluating the impact of power. Throughout this video, I will evaluate each in terms of their strengths and weaknesses, as well as discuss some of the games that I think highlight these attributes. The first type of power I noticed was visual effects. It is honestly the easiest way to denote power, because regardless of design choices, an art style is needed to proceed with a game. This can range from the knockout effect in Super Smash Bros. Ultimate to the racing lines in Race Die Run. Even simpler games can easily capitalize on this. For example, Sheepo and a robot named Fight stop everything that is going on to highlight the importance of a new upgrade or power-up unlocked. These flares can be expanded into cutscenes, showing the impact of an action I had on my surroundings. However, many times I find that after seeing them a couple of times, they seem to do more harm than good. The first game I can think of with visual effects is the new Mario Strikers Battle League. This game features hyper strikes, visually impressive moves where a character performs a powerful kick. Impact cutscenes like these are exciting, but I found they can disrupt the pacing of a game, specifically when they cannot be skipped. Additionally, visual effects can also impact power with character models and sprite designs. When I do something good, I want to see my character excited. At the same time, I want my enemies to seem formidable too. Boss fights are known to be massive towering beasts, while typical enemies are much smaller and draw less attention to themselves. This divide between typical enemies and boss fights embodies the difference in power, thus making the player feel better when defeating them. Cuphead's massive and foreboding boss designs are standout here, looking menacing and challenging at the same time. While the art direction in a game is a large contributor to what is deemed powerful, it is difficult to feel strong without overcoming genuine difficulty. Games like Super Meat Boy or Elder Souls base their entire reward structure on overcoming challenging moments that take multiple attempts to complete. However, instead of being overbearing, these games make the challenges surmountable and consistent, so I felt empowered once I finally beat a segment. At the same time, this type of power is often felt in roguelikes. While there is some luck involved, the primary alteration between runs is individual skill, making these games rewarding, especially once they're mastered. For example, while it took me a while to recognize the importance of using windows and non-guns, once I began implementing that strategy, any resulting success felt like I deserved it, even if the developers intended that decision all along. I feel the same way when playing fighting games. Once I begin a fighter, I don't know the moves or abilities of any of the characters. Though some of the fundamental strategies may transfer from game to game, it's practically necessary to put time into learning how the mechanics of each game work. Learning to fully utilize a character brings a similar sense of power to that attained by defeating a powerful boss or clearing a tricky level. Unfortunately, this power is one of the more difficult types of power to perfect. Some games fail to motivate continued playing because it is hard to find genuine adjustments to make in the future. For example, Wonder Boy and Monsterland features a maze as the penultimate test. Though mazes are commonly used in games to incentivize critical thinking, this maze is genuinely agony. Sure, it is frustrating that there is no indication where any segment will relocate my character to, but the most disappointing element was that there is a timer that quickly drains my hearts until I had none left. Then, once I died, I had to restart the game. Failing to help me recognize where I could improve diminished the sense of power I had while playing Wonder Boy and Monster World, and then made the completion less empowering. At the same time, it is important to keep things interesting. Some developers fail to make me feel empowered because their levels are difficult in the wrong ways. The Snake King is a puzzle game where I piloted a snake through a maze. However, that was it. There were some obstacles here and there, but the premise was the same from level to level. In addition to the stagnation, many of the later levels were difficult not because they required a lot of technical skill, but because they required many instances of minimal skill. making tedious challenges an easy way to deprive a player from any of the satisfaction they're looking for. Despite being challenging for a developer to perfectly balance, I think the power I derive from gaining technical skill in a game is one of the most rewarding elements of gaming, and one of the reasons I continue playing games to this day. However, not everyone works exactly like me, and many others are just as motivated by competition with others. I easily see the appeal, knowing I am better than other people in the world at something is rewarding. Unfortunately, this also works the other way around, stripping power from people who are consistently not in the upper echelon of people. Often, I find the disappointment I feel from losing points in a ranked ladder or placing in the bottom percentile of people more impactful than the empowerment I get from winning, and thus, I think this type of power does not resonate with me as much as it does to some others. However, a similar kind of logic is employed in high-score leaderboards. I even enjoy just competing against myself to prove that I have become better than I was before. I think they are an excellent way to motivate and empower improvement without the insane time investment of online play. This is further shown in ranking systems. Games like Popslinger and Bleed automatically assign a letter grade based on the perceived quality of play. This not only motivates improvement, but has a peak score, providing an area where I can truly feel satisfied with my achievements. Some games, such as Dawn of the Monsters, further incentivize scoring well with additional upgrades and better rewards. To me, this artificial competition is more than empowering enough to motivate me to continue improving without much of the negativity I feel from placing poorly in an online leaderboard or losing points in a ranked ladder. Another way games denote power is by genuinely improving the quality of equipment or gear available. Roguelike games feature this often, and though sometimes this can diminish the sense of power I feel when completing a challenging segment, learning to utilize and ultimately master new mechanics and abilities instantly boosts power. The games that use this methodology are best when the upgrades either enhance the skill ceiling greatly or do not impact the game substantially. Shovel Knight comes to mind as an excellent example of doing this correctly. There are many suits I could unlock to alter my upgrades, but none of them were innately superior. I was able to combine my knowledge of the game with the available upgrades to calculate which option was best for me while still needing to execute actions properly. While this may not technically be a restriction, enhancing the player ability excessively can reduce the reward and satisfaction gained from replaying an older level. Being innately overpowered makes it less enjoyable to revisit them, as the things that were once difficult are now easier because the character in front of me is better at handling them, not because I am. Though this method does provide temporary sources of power, it can easily scale and make a player's innate ability seem less powerful than the character itself. In some cases, the developers take an even simpler approach. Sometimes, words of affirmation are enough to gratify players for their hard work. Many puzzle games, like Picross or Conduct Together, focus on telling their players that they did a good job instead of showing them. For me, this often falls flat. I want to see the significance of my action, instead of hearing about them. Regardless, they do provide some semblance of power. A similar phenomenon is seen with scarcity and rarity. Even if something is not useful, if it is deemed rare, it has intrinsic value, and I feel powerful for owning it. I experienced this a lot in Nexomon, where the creatures came labeled by their rarities out of the gate, making them seem innately more powerful than others. Again, I do not find this substantial, and constantly find myself longing for something more engaging. Still, some developers choose to empower players with their words of affirmation. Finally, I wanted to discuss how some games emit power by making the player choose between different options. Typically, I see this narratively. For example, in Anodyne 2, I had to choose between collecting all the dust or releasing it. Selecting the choice I wanted altered the ending and made me feel as though I was substantially impacting the world around me. Similarly, this kind of power can be seen in games where there are expansive skill trees with different paths. Within the Blade features a ninja who has wildly different skill set based on the choices I make throughout the journey. Even simple things, such as the ability to customize the main character or select between different weapons, add an additional level of strategy that, when conducted correctly, reward me with an exciting rush of power. I think that making impactful decisions is an excellent way to differentiate experiences for players and to make them feel strong for making the correct decision. However, it may have some players view the world differently, often less favorably to those who have made only correct decisions. It can be challenging to include meaningful decisions while maintaining all key elements in the title. If there are alternate endings or paths, it will require players to continually revisit the title, which is not always the case. If someone does not revisit the title, they lose out on experience or concept that they may have found interesting. While the decisions do make an impact, it is challenging to have them done correctly. Overall, I cannot say that there is one best way to make a player feel powerful. Without invoking power in someone, though, a game will not resonate, and it will often stagnate quickly. The best solution is to include as many types as possible, but also to direct them at the target audience. Thank you so much for watching.